This episode contains discussions of sex, kink, and BDSM, which might not be suitable for all audiences. If this episode is not suitable for you, feel free to listen to another episode. Thank you.
And apologies for the background noise.
Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap at you about films we've watched recently.
And today we're doing
Pillion, directed by Harry Lighton.
Politics to a shopping list.
And buy yourself a butt plug. You're too tight.
Yeah. Lovely. That sounds like a plan. Bye
So
then.
this film is brand new. It's kind of British made, premiered at Cannes in the Uncertain Regard section earlier in May. I watched it at its UK premiere at London Film Festival, and I'm so wonderfully surprised by this film. Not because like any of the people who star in it or any of the people who made it are like bad filmmakers. I genuinely didn't know anything about them, but that's kind of the point. This is
Okay.
not the kind of film I would have gone and watched. But I'm so glad that I did because of how entertaining and sweet it was. It's specifically about the gay biker community in London that engages with a lot of kind of BDSM and other kind of kink communities. And I'm not saying I'm like opposed to that, obviously not. I'm just saying it's not the usual kind of film I watch. But the film is based off of a book called Box Hill, written by Adam Morse Jones, and it's been adapted. So it's been written by and directed by Harry Lighton, and it stars Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling in the main roles. And it's basically about them being in a BDSM relationship, or a relationship that is based around BDSM, and how Harry Melling, who plays Colin, kind of has to navigate through that. He's portrayed as this really shy, really inexperienced gay man whose parents are like overly involved in his love life, which, relatable. And it's like the complete opposite to Alexander Skarsgård, who's really like quiet and assertive and really severe, and plays the character. Alexander Skarsgård's character is called Ray, and Ray is like, you couldn't think of two more opposite people than Ray and Colin, and they enter this relationship, and like from the start it's pretty obvious like who each character plays the role in this relationship.
one is a top, one is a bottom, and just by that description, it's very obvious who's playing who.
Exactly, right. And I think that's kind of the point of this movie. This movie makes like those concepts or those binaries of top and bottom, dominant and submissive, it really makes you challenge them. And not because it subverts them or anything, but it makes you think about your idea of who is submissive or who is dominant in a relationship. And like it has so many links to like, as does like an understanding of the BDSM and kink community, which is, it really makes you question all the kind of, I don't want to say problematic, but all the heteronormative ideas that you have. Because if you're watching this film and you're thinking, oh, I'm uncomfortable with the way that this specific event is happening, or the way Colin is being treated right now, why are you uncomfortable about it? Is it because you think he's being treated as lesser than? Why is that uncomfortable to you? Is it because you have certain gendered ideas of roles people play in relationships? Is it because you associate a certain gender with a certain role?
So it's breaking down those binaries by using these two characters firstly, and then also using that specific nature of that
Exactly.
specific relationship to question ideals of like, how does sex work between that, and like what do we consider as different roles within that as well.
Exactly. And I think more than anything, this film isn't trying to do any of this in like a preachy way. It's not saying like, oh, you, the audience, is wrong for thinking this specific way, or these people who are doing it are kind of strange or whatever, or that they are wrong or something. It takes a very, I don't want to say neutral because it's not a neutral, but it takes a very, it is what it is kind of this thing, perspective on different kinds of relationships. I think it embodies the queerness And queerness, I don't mean as like a literal thing. I mean as like the idea of queerness in a very beautiful way, because it talks about being queer as just being and doing things. It never explains BDSM. It never explains kink explicitly. It never tries to reach out to an audience in a, oh, please understand me kind of way. It's like shows you front and straightforward what it is. And I think that showing of immediately what kind of how people experience or express their queerness
Okay.
is, I think, to me, like one of the most best ways to engage with the queer community.
So what I'm hearing is it's like the thinking queer person's 50 Shades of Grey.
Kind of.
If you read 50 Shades of Grey and were like, yes, this is sexy, but it doesn't intellectually challenge me.
Exactly. It's like the problem with movies like 50 Shades of Grey is it doesn't think about kink as like an actual thing. It almost mocks kink.
Okay.
Whereas this film doesn't.
Yeah.
And I just want to like take a minute to talk about the acting in this film. So Harry Melling and Alexander Skarsgård, they do these characters and these roles so much justice because of how much like nuance and depth that they bring to the characters. I feel like these roles could have been played by any other character, but I don't see that because of how well they fit together. And I've seen a few interviews of theirs where they said that they did no rehearsals together, or they just kind of met each other, shook hands, and then went into
surprising.
intimacy coordinator or intimate scenes. And I'm like, I see that though. The chemistry that comes from not knowing each other too well is reflected in the film as well, but then trusting each other to do these kinds of scenes. Exactly, which
There's a
is
sense of
kind of the point of the
awkwardness and
film as well.
gaining
So I
trust.
feel like the acting process and the way they embody these characters and the relationship is very much reflected clearly in the film's script and plot as well. And that brings me to like the bits of this movie that I think were like the best, which is when this movie was introduced to like the audience, because I was at a premiere, so it was introduced by the director. It was like, there's going to be hardcore pornography, there's going to be like explicit, very distinct like visuals of kink and kind of the degradation aspect of it and the dominance of it and this and that and that. And then as I was watching, and it's obviously all of that is there in the film like very clearly, you watch it, but it's not as much as you think it would be. The core of this film is very sweet. And I'm not saying that kink and BDSM and those aspects cannot be sweet, but from the director's own description, and I'm now thinking about the director very conveniently left out the really emotional moments of this film, which are when there are no words in those moments. Like literally, nobody's.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is the explicit parts, while serve a purpose, they're not what the film is all about. Like, it's much more about the dynamic between these two people, how multiple things around them facilitate that, I'm assuming, right? Like, fair enough. Yeah, that's a part of it. That's what the story revolves around, but that's not what gives the story its like pathos or like its emotional aspect necessarily.
A lot of like emotional undercurrent that you have to kind of work your way through to see in this film and to actually even appreciate it, because and I know the director kind of sold it as this fun lighthearted thing, but it's not. It's quite sad, the film, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone because I want people to watch it. So it has these moments where your heart is like wrenched and you feel genuinely any kind of emotion, all the emotions at once for these characters. And I think at the end of the day, if anything, the story is about Colin finding himself, finding his identity as a gay man. And it's not that through his like experience with Ray, he's completely transformed as a person, which is an aspect at the beginning of this film where Colin like goes through like a complete physical transformation, which his mom is kind of like concerned about. His mom is even concerned about the kind of dynamic that they have in this film because she doesn't understand BDSM and BDSM relationships, which is like, it is a plot line in this. It doesn't like shy away from certain people don't understand this. It acknowledges that. I think that's kind of the point of it.
Yeah, they almost become like the stand-in for a lot of the audience
Exactly,
who might
exactly.
not
So I
be
think what, at the end
already
of the day,
in
this
this
film
world.
and the relationship between Colin and Ray does is it allows them, it allows Colin to grow. So yeah, I definitely 100% think that this film is really, at the end of the day, about Colin and about getting to know yourself as a queer person. Just coming out isn't enough, but kind of going through the motions of being queer in different ways, different forms, and then kind of building up to this version of yourself that you can see as authentic or whatever as possible through performance or through anything. But yeah, I think that's why I think that the heart of this film
Fair
is
enough.
so beautiful. That's why I think people should go and watch it. If you're going to go and watch it with like the, oh my god, I'm going to judge like kink, or I'm going to judge the BDSM community, or I'm going to judge the queer community from what I watch, don't watch it. Because this film is meant to challenge you and question you. And if you think that you can challenge yourself and question yourself and take a look at your own kind of preconceptions or ways of being that you have no idea about, then I definitely think you should watch this film. And yeah, it premieres in the UK on the 28th of November. That's when it'll come to cinemas. And yeah, I just think it was fantastic. And I'm so glad I watched this. So glad.
Amazing. So those are our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixabay. If
Bye-bye.
you enjoyed this, please do share it. See you again next time.